Hello, and welcome to Let's Drone Out. With us this week, everyone's favourite, Curry Kitten.
Hello.
The Canadian on the team, Cole.
Howdy.
And our guest this week, FailsafeFPV, who is going to be
Hello.
explaining Walksnail and the new goggles, amongst other things. He
Nice.
bravely
Hello.
ventured off to get a screwdriver before the show.
I have got the screwdriver. It's a bit tiny, but it'll do.
It's a brave
trying to
move.
trying to get the goggles taken apart because one of the main things we were sort of talking about pre-show was the replaceable VRX, which is in the top part of the goggles. So I'm trying to disassemble them, but yeah, I'll quickly show you a little outline of the goggles. So there they are. I've got true RC antennas on them already.
I was going to
which
say,
are
does it come
ones.
with 4 stubby antennas now, or does it not come with
They do
anything?
indeed. Yep. They come with true RC. Not true RC. More on about. They come with 4 stubby antennas by
Yeah, they
default.
don't come with true RC or it would be 50 quid more.
Yeah. But they've also got like a little upgradable patch antenna which you can put on the front as well. So these pieces here can easily be taken off, and then you replace it with patch antennas which they sell in the store. I think it's like 25 quid, and you get these 2 patch antennas. A bit like the Lumineer Axie antennas which you got on DJI, bit like that, but they're sort of bolt on to the front.
So are those colour changing?
They are indeed. So if I go see if I can go into the settings and change the color.
A tasteful on-brand aquamarine for LDO, which is nice.
Here we go. So they're blue, and you can go to green.
Oh.
And you've got red. Or you got your menu option is close, which I guess means off.
I want the best video signal in the world, and I don't want any kind of PWM noise around it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we were talking about very briefly the sort of differences, and one of the things we mentioned was like the awful menu button's still the same. But the other thing I was wondering is, how is the fan in the original? Although you seem to have fan low, fan high, I can still get a bit of steaming up, and I sometimes have to pull them off my face for a minute and let it settle. Have you used them out in the wild yet?
Yeah.
Is it any better?
Yeah, I have. So a couple of weekends ago now, I went down to the White Cliffs of Dover, and I was doing some cliff diving down there, which is just absolutely insane. There's the sort of views you get there. The only problem with it was really windy, and I had a bit of an accident, to say the least. I lost the quad down the cliffs, and it didn't come back. So yeah, so that's my 4th quad in the past.
Bad doggy.
Yeah. I did a cliff dive, and in fairness, it was my fault. It's a stupid idea because it was windy. We should have just said, look, we're going home now. But I had two friends that traveled like 2 hours to fly this. So I was like, I'm not going. Well, I want to at least do a cliff dive. Come on, man.
Being the showman.
So I tried doing a cliff dive. I did it a couple times. It was all good. But the problem is we were quite at the top, and we didn't want to be quite near the edge of the cliff in case there was a sudden gust of wind, went off the edge. But so the problem with it was we were kind of stood quite far back, and it must have been there was quite like a gust of wind, and then basically the quad desynced, and then there's no way down the cliff. Like the tide was in, and also it's in a bit of an awkward place to get, so it's still there. So if anyone's in the White Cliffs of Dover and sees a quad, then it's probably mine. But yeah,
there you are. You just laid claim to any quad that might have landed on that 50-mile stretch of coastline.
I have some DVR footage I can share of it if when we're in a bit. But yeah, it wasn't good. But here we learn. Yeah, don't do stupid stuff down cliffs if it's stupidly windy. So oh well. But I was testing out the new 1080p 100 FPS mode in these goggles, which they support. I'm not too sure if they're coming to the standard ones, the V1s. I know this definitely supports it, and it was very nice, I must say. I've not done any penetration testing or anything through bandos yet with it, but if you're just cruising on the cliffs, the quality is just ridiculous. And on that 100 FPS mode as well, it's really good.
Is that
well, I think you did do some penetration testing, and we found out it doesn't penetrate through a big cliff very well.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know, because it was odd because I it did obviously fail, so it did lose video at the bottom of it. But as I was going down, you'd notice it would start wobbling, and I reckon something happened. I don't know if it fail saved. I hope it didn't. It's express RS, but yeah, I think it probably desynced. I reckon because it was quite all the wind and everything. It was just oscillating, just going forwards when it wouldn't usually be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So and it was fine with Gem Fan S bangs as well, which are 4.9-inch props, so not really a great deal of sort of thrust really. Well, there's responsive props, but that sort of thing, I think I'll be better off with a 5.1-inch
They're made
prop.
for smaller environments, right? Really sudden acceleration in small spaces.
But yeah. Oh,
So
well.
does the 1080p mode? A lot of people have mentioned the kind of smearing you get with some of the 720p, and you can put it up to high bit rate. It didn't in the early firmware seem to really change much. But if you use 1080p, does that help the smearing, or does that just give it more smearing because there's more pixels to deal with?
I think the 1080p mode does better in smearing because, I think it seems to be. It's a bit hard to explain because I have only been out once, keep in mind. So I've not really done sort of environments where I've noticed the smearing much, like in band nodes and things like that. But yeah, I think it's pretty good compared to the 720p mode. I'd much rather fly that than the 720p. And I haven't really noticed much in a difference in latency either. So it seems pretty consistent, which is good. But yeah, it seems all right. This is with the V2 and V2 VTX. So I've seen some couple of people complaining about the actual naming scheme of them. You got like the V2, and then now got the V2 with dual antennas, and they've got it's a bit of a confusing naming scheme they're going with. But yeah, they've just released a new one with dual antennas and apparently much better power, I believe, like power system in it, BECs. So it should be handle 6S direct voltage better. I mean, I've not really had any issues with powering my things from 6S, my VTXs. I just hook them straight up to the battery pads, but I do run a spike absorber and things like that. So, but yeah.
I remember when we were over in Croatia, someone got really unlucky, hypo FPV, and was just burning them out right, left, and center on 4S.
Yeah.
So
he's got always replaced though. The Calyx are really good at replacing, but yeah, it's still not particularly great. I'm not too sure what's going on there because I think he even was powering them from a BEC as well, which is a bit worrying. Oh. He's powering them from a BEC and they're like frying.
No,
like
I think he once he powered them from the BEC, he wasn't losing them, but he was before he used the BEC on 4S, which was
right. Okay.
But from build to build, there can be massively varying amounts of noise, and some people crash a lot harder than others and stuff like that. So
there's a lot of variables in it. Yeah.
Well, it's good to hear that there's a reason to go get them if the 1080p mode is good.
Yeah. I would say that if you currently got the V1's goggles, stick with them. Like, I've heard some people also complain about the optics on these as well. I think Ian from MadTech was complaining about the optics. They are slightly wider angle. I believe they're 50 degrees compared with, I think it's 40, 45, 46 on the previous version, which you do notice. I don't think that's a massive thing because they are, it's already, I think it's almost perfect in the V1 goggles where, you haven't got too much of that vision just sort of right near the edge of the lenses.
Yeah.
But
they pushed it a bit closer to the edge of the lenses on those then. Yeah. So if you've got your battery readout right down in the corner, you might suffer.
Exactly that. But yeah, I've not had any issues with the blurring edges. It does depend on how the position on your face. So what I've ended up doing on mine is I've actually got some of these little foam pads you can see here, which basically just push the goggles just closer to my face, so they face further up, which helps.
So you lose a bit of that FOV, but then you get clarity.
Yeah, and you can actually see, because I sometimes had problems seeing like the very bottom, like you can see it, but it just sort of like you got a bit of a gradient there where you can see like the bottom of the lens on there. But yeah, it's not a problem at all. I'm really happy with the optics overall from the new ones. I thought it might be an issue, but no, it's fine.
So you've got both sets, and do you find that you're always going for the V2s, or you just kind of pick and choose, or what's the deal?
I'm pretty much fully sold on the V2s now. I like the one thing which you're getting on these ones is that HDMI input and output. I've not tried the output, but the input works flawlessly on simulators. So I'll plug it into my graphics card with HDMI, and you can run the full 720p, 100 FPS simulators on this, so you know you're getting the full 100 FPS
Not
through.
1080p 100.
I did try 1080p. Don't think that's working currently, but
Oh, okay.
it might potentially work in. I don't know, but yeah, I did have problems with 720p. Like it was just, I don't think the video was perfectly synced up with what the refresh rate and the goggles and everything. It just didn't work. So, but that's an issue. My configuration or the goggles, I think, so you're safe to stick with 720p and 100 FPS, and it looks really good. And the goggles, no issues.
Oh, that's
I was
cool.
playing on Crash Simulator in them, and yeah, it's really fun.
I remember trying to use my Sky Zone Sky 04X. They're not bad goggles, and they are OLEDs, but trying to get computer games running on them, you realise that they aim for analog quality, and when you put the digital signal from the PC into them, oh my god, everything was just like either blindingly bright or just black, and I couldn't get the contrast working. It was a real struggle, unfortunately. So that
I actually had a question. Cool. Do they do both 16:9 and 4:3 in the goggles, or?
In terms of for analog, what do you sort of mean by that? Do you mean by analog or by the Walksnail system itself?
Yeah, just in general, like I guess for HD, I guess since we're on the topic of HD, well, since I guess
So on analog, you got the buttons here. So you've got one here which is your menu button, and one's the back button, and one's the record button, I think.
Yeah.
So what you do, you can press and hold one of these, and it will switch between the inputs. So you can then switch. You'll then firstly switch to HDMI input, and then it will switch to your analog AV input. And I believe the analog is 4:3. So
yeah,
that's the native resolution of the analog input. And yeah, you connect that up obviously with the jack port there. I've already seen some people making these little things, 3D printed mounts, where you can just clip on the front, and then you can put an analog module in there. But yeah, that's 4:3 by default. I'm not too sure if you can change that to 16:9. I don't see why not. It might automatically recognize the input and then adjust, but I've not tested analog yet. Walksnail, you have 4:3 options in the settings, so you can change the cameras to 4:3. So say if you've got the Pro camera, which is 16:9 native resolution for the sensor, I believe, you can change that to 4:3, but all you're doing with that is you're cropping the edges, so you're going to lose some of that field of view. For 4:3 pilots, though, they do the V2 camera, which is a native 4:3 sensor, but you're not getting that Starvis sensor, which is what the Pro camera offers, which is super
it's a pretty
low
awesome
light
sensor. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was just curious. So, like you said, the sensor itself is native 16:9. Okay.
Yeah. But I do think I'm probably going to be running the V2 camera from now on, because I do like the 4:3 aspect ratio, because you got so much more like height, sort of horizontal field. Is it horizontal? Vertical field of view.
Yeah, resolution.
Yeah, you got a lot more vertical field of view. And I find that the Pro camera probably really good for like wings and stuff, but in terms of actual freestyle, I think I prefer the V2, just simply because that increased field of view on top and bottom.
You spend a lot of time power looping, don't you? So that kind of is literally a make or break.
And trippy spins and things like that, where you're going upside down, definitely helps with that. But,
I don't know if I could get used to 16:9 in the goggles. I feel like on the GoPro is fine and dandy, but I don't know. There's something about having that, more of a square aspect ratio.
And it depends how much you've actually got in degrees, right? So if you've got a decent amount of degrees vertically, it's okay. But if you're already suffering with the vertical field of view, then 16:9 can be a bit of a pain.
And I think the V2 goggles as well for 4:3 pilots are going to be better, because they've got slightly increased field of view. So they've got 50 degree field of view compared with like 45 or 46 on the V1s, which then gives you that more height.
Yeah, I was meaning more on the camera. Because obviously, like if you've got a massive, say, 100-degree field of view on the camera vertically, and then you're cropping it down to get 16:9, it's not so bad. If you've got like only a 75-degree field of view on the camera, then cropping it, you're going to lose a lot. Because they don't really give stats on that. You talk about goggle field of view quite a lot. We used to like look at the lenses, and with analog cameras, you knew that sensors are pretty much identical, and you used to have to look at the lens sizes. But do you know what kind of field of view you get from the Walksnail cameras?
I've not. It's not something I've really researched.
Don't worry, man. We can.
Read
the product pages.
All I know, but it's more about the goggles.
I feel like they only give the horizontal number anyway. they go ultra wide, and they always have that sort of
it's a bigger number
triangle going that way, don't they? They never talk about how much vertical space you've got.
As long as they're not as bad as the Dominator V3s, because I had those and they were absolutely terrible.
I've still got mine. Those are my analog goggles.
Oh,
I was up in the loft the other day and I found where I'd put my Quantum Cyclops Diversity box goggles.
From Hobby King.
Quality product.
Yeah, what neoprene did they have? Neoprene cover?
Oh, it was a hard plastic shell. It had really, really awful foam, like the sort of foam that is normally just packing foam. But yeah, I wore them for probably 2 years, something like that, before they completely bit the dust.
What went on them?
What went on them?
Yeah.
I was flying tiny whoops and stuff. It was like going from brushed whoops to like 75mm brushless, and then I had a QAV 105 and some eSheen dodgy stuff. Yeah.
You know what's so strange about the having all this super ultra wide angle view? Everybody wants that in the goggles. I personally found that I actually like a more narrow view in the FPV, so I can actually more focus in. And when I can see so much on the sides, I find like it can sometimes be distracting. Whereas if you have a smaller field of view, just like maybe on the lens of the actual, say, analog FPV camera, I found that, I don't know, I can just see better, I guess, as far as towards where I'm going, opposed to seeing so much on the outsides of where I'm looking.
I kind of assumed there was a right and a wrong answer. I guess when I joined this show, I've noticed over the years that it's very much personal preference, and what one person can give you 20 reasons for being the right thing for them is totally different for the next person.
For sure.
So we were looking at the goggles, and you had a screwdriver, Failsafe, and that's because they are actually user serviceable, right? And they've gone so far as to tell us up front that the VRX module, the PCB, is replaceable. So what do we know about that?
So so this whole top cover here is removable. I've been trying to get it off for like the past 20 minutes. I haven't yet got it off. There's basically 2 screws in the top here which you remove, and then this whole top bit comes off. Apparently, according to Ian from Madstech, he said it's actually not that much difficult to remove than it is on the V1s. So don't really take that as a massive wow. But they're thinking basically there's a new chipset coming out. I believe it's already out actually. I forgot the name of the company, but
Artisan.
There you go. Yeah, there's a new chipset coming out, or just come out, I believe, in 2021. So the actual chipset inside of this is apparently getting pretty old now. According to Jonas on the Walksnail Discord, he's also a developer. He helped with D3VL, I believe, which is the company that did like things like FPV out and the apps like that. He's done a bit of research into it, and he found that it's reasonably old chipset now that's in the goggles and the system. So apparently, according to him, it's end of life. Now I don't know, I'm not much research into that, but that's apparently according to him.
I've heard the same thing. The chipset itself is the AR9201, which is in all the Walksnail kits so far.
Yeah, just gonna quickly look, because I know Jonas put a lot of.
So the current kind of explanation is that obviously CADX, Walksnail have bought up a whole heap of chipsets, so they've got enough of this AR9201 to make a whole bunch of equipment, but they know that at some point they're not going to be able to get that chipset, and there's going to be a new chipset that they have to buy instead. So they're going to work, obviously, to integrate that new chipset to offer a new line of products, which are going to be, from the looks of it, they're going to try and make them backwards compatible. They've made a lot of noise about, compatibility in the past.
I'll share my screen.
But there might be some new features there as well, which could be interesting.
So you see this one here, the 3rd generation back from 2018. That is what apparently is in the current system. So the AR9201, which is what Stephen just mentioned about. But yeah, the 4th generation, which came out in 2022, apparently. It looks, it's got a lot more features. It looks like it goes up to 6-7 gigahertz, 160 megabits per second. And so there's basically a new chipset out, and I reckon I reckon that the next system, what the updated board is going to be, I'm not too sure on the date. I should have done some research into this, but I know they mentioned sometime next year. I think it might be August. I'm not too sure. I have to confirm that. But sometime next year, they're thinking about basically going to be doing like an upgraded board for the goggles that you just stick in here. It'll have the updated chipset. I think you may need new VTXs. I'm not too sure on that. That's not being confirmed too. But yeah, there's going to be new chipset. Apparently, it's going to offer more range and yeah, other things like that. Is what I've heard.
So for those that can't read the kind of white on grey background there, the current one aims for 12 kilometers. That's there. Obviously, people have gone further than that, but that's what they're suggesting it's capable of as a baseline. And the new one, they've put 15K. Obviously, there's a ton of engineering that goes into the amplifiers and whatever else they actually put with it that is going to affect that. But we could be looking at an uplift of 25%, something like that.
Yeah. So look.
And also an increase in bit rate as well, which might give the encoder a bit of a break. And also, I've heard that actually the encoder is kind of CPU bound on these as well. So they want to obviously use H.265 and they want to get 100 frames a second. Well, that means, they don't have a lot of CPU time on each frame. And that means they can't do a lot of really, really nice encoding. They're forced to just get it done. So we've got things like trying to balance smearing with delay and so on and so forth. And if a new chipset comes out, that would, be a silver bullet for a lot of those problems.
Yeah, it's actually, I was just looking into it, and it's just absolutely insane the amount of sort of technology that's in this tiny little board. To send that video at 100 FPS, 1080p, it's pretty insane. The sort of work that goes into it, it's absolutely bonkers. But yeah, I'm really excited for the future and what this brings. We'll see they're continuing to improve. Yeah, looking forward to it. What I can say.
Yeah, very cool. That's very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it's making me think about it. I'm still in the analog realm, but yeah, that's pretty enticing. I mean, 100 frames per second, like it's pretty good. 1080, like that's amazing.
And it's just the amount of versatility you've got as well. You can see here you've got. Yeah. I like the way also the main thing as well. They put the SD card in the bottom as well. Not like midway through the eyepieces.
Fine.
And you got that proximity sensor as well. So when you put them on, they turn the screen on. I turn it off because sometimes it can be a bit annoying, but
it's pretty cool to be able to just take them somewhere if you're going out. Maybe you've got a train journey or something, and you could like just take a laptop and play a bit of simulator or something, and you don't need a big screen or anything. You could even watch movies on them, I guess, right?
I mean, I've even something that I've been looking at recently is Velocidrone. They're releasing a new app on mobile, which I've been in beta testing for quite a while. And you can see on my phone, once it loads up, there's Velocidrone running on my phone. It's a Galaxy Z Flip 5. But yeah, you can literally play it. It works on my phone. It's playing at like 120 FPS, full screen.
So that's straight USB-C to USB-C then?
Yeah.
Or do you need to mess around with dongles and stuff in the middle?
No. So it's now supporting ExpressLRS. So I can literally Bluetooth my controller to my phone and play it straight from there.
Yeah, but if you want to connect your phone to your goggles,
I see. Yeah, so
because I can plug my phone into like the docking station here, and it just pings up on the screen with my phone's display.
That's what I'm thinking of doing.
Yeah, they can do that, but I'm wondering if the goggles work with that, or if you need adapters.
I haven't tried that yet, but after the stream's done, I'll be definitely trying that, and I'm pretty certain it will work. I don't see why when my phone can output HDMI, just USB-C to HDMI and then into the goggles. I don't see a problem with that.
That would be really neat.
I'll test that.
One cable done.
Yeah, exactly. And then Bluetooth to my controller. But yeah, Velocidrone is. I think it's released now. It has been in beta testing, but I think it is on the Google Play Store. So if anyone who's got Android and wants to have a go at it, you can download it on Google Play. And yeah, it's really good. It runs really well. Surprisingly good. Like I never thought that would be possible. Like on a mobile phone, if you're playing full-blown Velocidrone, that's pretty cool. It's got all the same physics, I believe, and everything like that.
So Brian FPV saying that pilots that bought the V1 goggles are in trouble for supporting them. Would you say that?
No. I obviously I'm not Cadix. I don't know what their plans are and stuff like that going forward. I've not been told an awful lot. The communication between them and me hasn't. They're not great at communicating, I will say that, in terms of communicating with us. But they are going to continue to support the V1 system, or say V1. Like, it's still the same chipset. It's still the same,
Still the same over the air protocol. Nothing's changed.
Exactly. Nothing, like Ian from Mads Tech said, nothing's much changed in terms of the actual RF point of view and the actual system itself. So don't think, Goggles X, it's a completely new system, we need to get all this new stuff. It still works with all the current VTXs. The V1 goggles continue to be updated and supported. Don't know how long for, that's not what I've been told, but yeah, same sort of thing. So I can't see why they would just stop updating the V1 system, because there's still a load more to go on the V1, I believe, in terms of improvements and things.
Brian FPV clarified with the 1080p comment, and we know that the optics are different, the internal electronics are pretty much identical, but are the panels of the V1 capable of 1080p 100, or is it physically impossible to do 1080p 100 on the panels, whereas the V2 can do 1080p 100?
That's a good question. It's not something I'm done much research into. It does depend, doesn't it? I don't know if it's a simple update that could do that or not, but that's something I'll ask them.
The panel is just a monitor, and it's got certain capabilities, and it can only go so fast. Yeah.
There's that, and also I think something to do. I think maybe potentially could be a firmware update potentially, because I'm only saying that because this is on version 35, the currently sort of beta version, and the Goggles V1 are still on like 32 main version 32. So it could be a couple updates on that, and we could see it, but it's not something I've done much research into. But I will ask.
I did wonder if we were getting like full 1080p on those panels. I don't know what the spec of the panels in the V1 goggles is, whether they actually do 1080p, because to my eyes, when I enabled 1080p mode, it looked identical to 720p. I couldn't tell there was anything different going on.
Definitely need to do a bit more research into that, because I wonder if the goggles just can't support 1080p, like say at 100 FPS, because when I enable that, it's straight up when you go into 1080p mode, it will just switch back to 30 FPS, like, so it's weird, but that's something I'll ask and get an answer.
Did you ever do 1080p in the V1 goggles?
No, I was mainly flying 720p because it had offered that lower latency.
All the frames.
And the higher frame rate, exactly. Yeah. But for wings and stuff like that, 1080p would be my preferred option, I think. Just get a bit more resolution.
Just a quick question on that Velocidrone thing again. Aside from the fact that there have been some simulators around that have been on mobile phones for a while. Ashley, who's the developer of that, claimed that he would be able to have radios connecting on iOS, which he said he found a way around it, but was unwilling to share it. So when you said it's released now, you think, I'm wondering if the iOS version's out, because I'm desperate to know how he's got around right now. The deadly curse of MFI on iOS.
Someone's about to get sued.
Have a look. Velocidrone.
Because I hazard a guess he might have been doing it from an audio input, and he denied that was the way. So I'm
interesting. So I've just looks like I've got an answer from the group. There's a Velocidrone mobile beta group on Facebook if you guys want to join and get sort of getting more involved with it. But yeah, look and see there's a comment from Ashley in there saying, just for info, today we got Apple approval to release the iOS version on the Apple App Store, and that was in July. So it looks like it is on the App Store. We don't quite know yet. We don't quite yet have ELRS on board, and we're waiting to see if our code will be accepted by ELRS for inclusion of the main branch of the firmware. We can go without that, but it will mean providing our own ExpressLRS builds for all the different modules. So it does, and that was 16 weeks ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if it potentially has been released. I don't know if it's support.
Someone's read out an MFI key from somewhere. Someone's done a naughty thing.
Something's very suspicious about this. You can't just have Bluetooth devices connecting as joysticks if Apple don't tell you you're allowed to.
I mean, I think it'd probably be all right, because I don't know how MFI works, but isn't that just mostly for like your Lightning stuff? And
No, it's for
No.
Bluetooth.
Is it,
Right
or is
there
it
as
for
well.
Bluetooth as well?
It's
everything.
It's a revenue
right.
scheme for Apple to prevent
Okay.
people from making compatible equipment. And
Yeah,
if they don't
who'd
give you
want
the say
compatible
so,
equipment
you
for their
can't do it.
phones? That would be crazy.
Yeah, way too easy. Where's the money?
Interesting.
So,
Sounds like
yeah.
Apple.
Check that out.
I didn't even know they did an iOS app, so that's good to know. Yeah, looks like you can get it on App Store. It might be on beta, so you might have to jump through some hoops to get it, but that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Android's pretty easy. I've plugged in so many USB and Bluetooth joysticks, and they mostly just work on Android.
It just works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Crazy. What's that all about?
Where's the money? Who's making the money?
Yeah.
Honestly. God, Tim Cook's disgusted by all that.
Where's the beef?
Is that your Tim Cook impression?
Yeah, man.
So the other thing, if you've got the inside track, Walksnail were talking about HDMI VTXs, so you could get some cine camera or something and plug it into a VTX. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, I did. I saw someone asking about it on the Facebook group the other day, and no one's also quite a few people are sort of wanted to know as well. Obviously, had no updates since, so I'll ask them about that. I've not heard back about that at all. I've checked the original post, and no one's commented. Sort of no one from them has commented on that. So whether it's been the works or if they're facing an issue or something, I don't know.
What would you imagine, Stephen, that the latency jumps up by doing that if it comes to fruition?
I imagine it would be eminently flyable, and there would be no problems posed whatsoever. And that's exactly what you'd want to do if you had a £10,000 camera. You'd plug it into an HDMI VTX and end up with 200 milliseconds latency, and you would have no problem flying it whatsoever. No problem. Everything is fine. Nothing to see here.
All good.
Yep.
A HDMI
You remember
monitor on the
plugging your
VRX
GoPro into Stuff Curry and how easy it was to fly?
Oh, it was very easy, actually, but that's because it had, back in the days of the GoPro 2, it had a proper video out. You didn't have to rely on HDMI out, so it's a little bit more direct. So I would say there was not much latency, but back then we were flying big quads on 3S, which didn't exactly go that quickly anyway, so it wasn't like looking for little gaps. Little gap was like, could you get it through a goalpost? It's like, yes, went through the tiny gap.
When you went to the flying field with like the wood pile from B&Q every single time to replace the arms.
That is it.
Is that what you used to do?
Not only that, I used to buy it in like 3.8 meter sections, and I had my MX-5, and I could put my roof down and have loads of these big sticks in it.
You see, you take a soldering iron, he's got a chop saw at the field.
Yep.
It means business.
It's brilliant.
So what do you think's next from Walksnail then?
Oh, that is hard to guess. Very somewhat unpredictable. I think they're focusing on getting those goggles sold, as many goggle pairs sold as possible and fulfilling the pre-order and things at the minute, I reckon. But maybe potentially the 4K board. So that VTX, which we were talking about earlier with the dual antennas, I suppose you can support 4K. I think what's probably going to happen is there's going to be a separate board which records the 4K. It's not going to be like 4K over the air, but yeah, I think they're going to be working on that at the minute, and that 4K camera, and they will bring that soon. Is what we've been told. So I think they're probably working on that, and potentially in the long term about the new chipset and getting that working and those new boards, I reckon.
I have a suggestion of what they could do next. It's a minor thing, but I feel would be useful. If you go into your power on Walksnail, and if you fly a big V2 VTX and you've got the whole like up to 1,000 or 1,200 milliwatts, whatever it is, if you go onto their 1S root board and connect to it, it seems to say the same thing, but they seem to have two-way communication. So if that would say, this is a 1S board, it only goes up to 350 milliwatts, therefore I should adjust my power rating so it makes more sense. I think that would be handy.
Yeah. So does it? Yeah, because it currently, when you set it to, if you got the 1S board or even the V2, which is, I think supports up to 15 volts, that's a 500 milliwatt board. So yeah, I think the current behavior is it will go beyond that, wouldn't it? Up to 1200 milliwatts. And yeah, it's not really that smart in sort of.
You don't really know what it's
out.
doing. Like, you've told it to run this 1S VTX at 1 watt, but it's basically undefined. It's like just having an option that says question mark. What's happening?
Yeah.
Is it defaulted to 25 milliwatt? Is it trying the highest it can, or is it overrunning the amplifier and trying to hit 1 watt? Just don't really have a clue.
That is a good. Yeah, that's a good feature. That'd definitely be good just to sort of get visual feedback as to what it's actually running, because it could be, you know, you think you're running at 1 watt and it's only running at 250 milliwatts because it's in low power mode, for example. That'd be a good thing to have. Yeah, I'll suggest that for sure.
I have suggested it before, but you try suggesting because
I'll give him a nudge. Yeah, that's good. There's so many people. There's so many features that people are suggesting. It's like, what do you prioritize? I guess, but yeah, what can you do?
Any new firmware feature? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so because the V1 goggles basically came out summer of last year, right? I remember you you were demoing them at FPV Drone Fest at the Cleveland Towers, or not the Cleveland Towers, the what was it called? Clipstone Collier.
Clipstone Colliery, yes.
Yeah. And so I guess within 1 year, or around a year, now they're on to the new ones. So they're obviously they're working at it.
Yeah, I did not expect them to be releasing a new goggle quite as soon. Like, I thought they would keep working on updates and things like that. Like, it came, I was like, I found out pretty much about the goggles when everyone else did on the Facebook group. So yeah, it came out. They're really sort of developing a load of stuff, I guess. And yeah.
Well, they should probably still be supporting the V1s. Like, it's only been a year, right? So like you were saying, that they're likely still going to be supporting that for a bit. So
yeah.
So that's good. Yeah,
definitely. They've got a new website as well. If I quickly share my screen, I'll quickly show you. Look, present. Let's share my screen. Okay. Walksnail. There's a new website just been released by D3VL, which is called Walksnail Hub. I don't know if you guys have heard of you probably heard of D3VL, but yeah, they've released a new, awesome new little release page. So your new firmware comes out, you've got a nice sort of graphical interface, I guess. Seeing when all those come out, your products, log, and things like that. So it's definitely worth checking out if you've got a pair of Walksnail goggles and you want to see sort of what the changes in the new firmware are and download links and things like that. Then this is a good place. It's walksnail.app. In your web browser. Just thought I'd share that. It's a nice new app that D3VL developed. Yeah.
Cool.
Really cool.
Awkward empty air.
It's so this time of the week where we say, who's been flying anything? And obviously Failsafe flew something and then crashed at the bottom of the cliffs of Dover.
Yeah. Did I go flying last weekend? Oh, yeah. We did.
I didn't.
Oh, I'm going to quickly show you guys something really cool which happened last weekend, which was organised by a fellow pilot in the UK called FailsafeFPV. There was about 30 pilots coming. I'll quickly share what we got up to. Share my screen. Yeah, we organised a little meetup. I'll say a little meetup, but there's around 30 people that turned up. I got there and I was like, gosh, how many people we actually got in? I was like, yeah, so many people. We had crazy carts, we had smoke and everything. We had loads of drones following around. I'll quickly skip on to the next one. You had crazy carts, drones. There's all the people there that turned up to the meetup, and it was just incredible. The amount of people that came. We had, so we'll quickly share this one. A picture of me on the crazy cart. These things go extremely quickly. Kind of scary sometimes, but you've got and we've mounted fireworks to drones and everything like that. So you can see a clip of us flying around the golf course.
It was like a blast. It was awesome.
Fireworks, and someone even was on the crazy cart, mounted one of them to it. I've got this footage here. I uploaded it to TikTok, and now my TikTok account's got a strike. So yeah, TikTok didn't like that for some reason. Yeah, but
why? What, for danger?
Dangerous, yeah, dangerous
Fun
activity.
is now illegal.
But, yeah,
can't have fun these
so
days.
That's what we shut that down. That was what we got up to last weekend. I didn't fly, but I just got footage. But yeah, it was a really cool meetup. Anyone else been out flying recently or anything like that?
I ran it inside of my house with a whoop.
Oh,
that is the level of the weather.
Yeah,
it's right. Look at going out. It just starts raining.
Yeah,
didn't you do some
snow?
Oh man, Canada for you.
Yeah.
Curry, didn't you do some GPS activity?
Yeah, that wasn't flying. That was putting GPSs out in the back garden and then timing how long it takes. That was all action. That was. It's like, look, let's have an M8 versus M10 race. Go.
Forget
the
power loops.
Yeah, it just the quad sat in the garden, overheating, and it did rain halfway through as well. I had to run back inside with it just to upset me. Yeah, so not very exciting. It might be all right tomorrow, so I'm going to take my little whoop out into the forest and see if I can fly around the trees a bit.
I did order one of those new Radio Master wheel radio things.
Oh, yes. MT15?
MT12, yeah. Because it was pointed out there's quite a lot of radio for the money, so I thought I'd get the pre-order price and have it to play with over winter. Thinking it'd be fun to go around the house with little cars. I haven't got any quite as small as Curry's, but I've got a few little drift cars and things, and some shiny floors to spin them around on. So I thought that'd be a laugh.
It's cool.
Oh, and tanks as well. I've got a tank. My tank is running FR Sky, so I need to sort that out. Get the tank on ELRS. In fact, get both tanks. I've got two tanks. I've got a big tank and a little tank. The indoor little tank is also on FR Sky on some like no-name tiny FR Sky receiver. So move from
how do the
those.
cats react to that?
With curiosity. It's got really bright LEDs. I've got some of those kind of 3x3 grid LEDs, two of them as headlamps on the front. So you can flick those on a switch and blind the cats. And I was driving around under the bed where all the dust bunnies and old bits of string are. And the cat followed me under there. And I had to turn around and flash the headlights at it to get it to move. It did. After looking at me curiously for a few seconds. Yeah. Anyway, that's all.
Have you guys heard about the new iFlight Helion 10 drone that was released, I think, this week or last week?
Yeah.
10-inch
really
drone.
Big
good
boy.
for carrying large
Missiles.
cameras.
But,
Well, that's the reason you're not going to get one out of China. Yeah, that can carry a big piece of explosive and drop them on Russian troops.
It's designed purely
Very
for carrying large,
very
say,
large GoPros.
10 or 15 kilo cameras. Yeah. Don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they
Cameras.
did a video on YouTube, an announcement video where they were like, "It will always return to you," or something like, basically it's equipped with the latest GPS module, so it will always return to you and things like that. And if you look in the product description, it says
Asterisks.
beta flight. It says GPS functionalities to find your way back on those ultra long range missions. Beta flight GPS rescue mode ready to set up. Default off to prevent unexpected behavior. Setup instructions included. But yeah, in the
This
advert,
is the iFlight who refused to ship with the latest firmware. Yeah. The same iFlight that didn't tell any of the developers they were using M10 GPSs, but just shipped them, I think. That one.
Oh.
Yeah. Helpful.
It does look interesting. I would something I'm thinking about doing next year, my friend at work was telling me about, is going to Iceland and doing diving. I think they've got volcanoes going off at the minute or something. And yeah, I'm 100% want to dive the volcano. Well, maybe not in it. Let's not doing it. Let's not lose another quad. But
yeah,
that's going to be, I think, one trip we're going to do next year. Iceland, hire a 4x4, just go exploring the coast and diving them out of the mountains. That's going to be the trip we're doing.
There seem to be many decent places in Iceland to go. You've got these just amazing valleys full of waterfalls and just big holes in the ground stuff, aside from anything else.
So good.
If you're flying around a volcano, what props would you choose?
Oh, probably would carbon fiber be best? I don't know.
Yeah, they wouldn't
Things
melt.
that don't
as much.
melt. Yeah, anything that doesn't melt.
So carbon fiber are actually nylon reinforced.
It's probably not.
They're carbon reinforced nylon, right?
Granite. Mold them out of granite. Granite props. That'd be all right.
Curry remembers the bewildering array of materials that used to be present in props. What would be good for a prop? Short of the obvious BMFA friendly choice of metal.
Yes. Make them out of razor blades. That seems safe. It doesn't really matter because let's face it, if it get it hot enough, all the wires will melt anyway, and it just crash.
Well, the wires will melt. The silicon covering will go about 350 to 400 ish, right? But the props will go at like 150 to 200. So
yeah, I was actually watching a guy who was flying the volcanoes in Iceland, and like chunks of volcanic eruption, whatever the magma. I don't know what the heck it is. Yeah, it's it literally like you just see it fly up and it like hits his camera, and then all of a sudden his drone is flying very weird. He somehow manages to get it back. He gets back, and there's like
there's a
third of a prop left on the one prop, and it's like you can hear it in like the behind the scenes footage. Like the quad sounds so messed up.
Lingus, or show some screens.
I remember seeing the footage of the John Oliver show, and they blew up the year. I think it was 2020. They built a massive sign that said 2020, and they blew it up. And they flew a drone through the explosion when all these it's like, gasoline airburst explosion to get a big orange boom. And they flew a drone through it, and they got the footage and then found the drone afterwards, and the props were all like curled up and frazzled.
Do any of you remember the original Inspire video where they landed on the in the magma, and the drone just sunk into it? Do any of you remember that?
That doesn't sound like a very good promotional video.
Yeah, hang on, I'll have a look. DJI.
Oh,
I feel he's getting too close.
Yeah, unless there's a lot of zoom on that.
Oh, this one didn't show.
I think I saw this one. This was like.
That was a couple of years
That doesn't
ago.
look like a DJI. I saw someone do this on a DJI, and his arms came back like warped or something.
Man, that's incredible.
It's kind of like you think if you run through fire, it won't get you. So maybe if you fly through lava, it'll be all right because you come out the other side quick enough.
Craziness. Yeah, I couldn't find the exact video, but I mean, I'm sure you could get the gist of it. It's magma or lava and plastic. It's those two things don't go together. No. Magma.
Sounds like a fun test. We took 8 props and flew them through lava. Let's see which works best.
That's actually a good point. That'd be a very good use case for having an octo, if you knew that there was a likelihood of getting a lava prop strike midway.
Yeah.
Take one out and you still got 7 more.
Yeah.
Just hope it doesn't go through to the next prop above.
Yeah. Well, you'd have the old kind of giant octo instead of the stacked, right?
What you need is a lava cage, a cage that goes around it, and it's like meshed, so the air can get through for thrust, but little bits of lava rock will bounce off it.
Just like my drone's getting really heavy.
I thought you meant like a case that was made out of magma.
That would be difficult. It's a bit hot to touch. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we're getting corrected about what is magma and what is lava. Magma is underground. Lava is when it comes out.
They're totally different materials. One metamorphoses magically into the other. They're totally different.
So Failsafe would have to do one of these famous dives to actually hit magma and go inside the volcano and down underneath.
Liquid magma.
Let's try not to lose another one this year or next year.
Was there like a GoPro attached as well?
Sorry?
So was there a GoPro attached to it as well, or was it just?
no, luckily no.
That's something.
Yeah.
That was good.
So if I can bring up the footage for you guys. I forgot it.
I mean, the stuff you do, I imagine you're quite steeled to seeing your toys disappear or explode into a cloud of confetti now.
Yeah, pretty much. I did well.
Heart of iron.
I mean, that was
just
the
kiss
quad
them
that got
goodbye.
bashed. That was the
Fly them.
quad got bashed throughout Croatia, so it was sort of on its last legs. But
So
yeah,
when you
so
say it was struggling in the wind, it might be like it was just rattling and beaten almost to death when you took off.
yeah, like you take off and then you go against the wind and you'd be almost full throttle and you're not getting past that wind. So
Yeah.
it was insanely windy, and it was just oscillating, like just flying forward, really quite badly. So, fairness, I probably should have packed up and went, but the cliff dives when
There's
they did.
one
they were
last
really good.
lipo, the famous last lipo.
Yeah.
Well, this is where Cole needs to look at bigger props, right? We're talking about your long-ranging aspirations. That's when you absolutely don't want a 4-inch. There's a bit of a
No.
headwind.
Well, actually, I have my my Rad Lion frame.
Ooh.
I have now got my 3D prints, and I'm slowly building out this 7-inch. So it's pretty exciting.
Oh.
Excellent.
Yeah. Shall be fun. I'll be. It's for the mountains in Taiwan, and if I can do 15, 20 minutes, I'll be happy. But I'll have to learn the ropes as far as 6S 2P Li ions and that type of stuff. But should be all right. Just no full throttles for too long.
Yeah, I'm not sure if full throttle is even allowed. I think it's like,
yeah.
anytime you go
Throttle
above half
limit.
throttle, you probably want an alarm going off from the radio. Like, cool it.
Yeah. It's, it'll definitely be a learning curve, but I'll have to, before I really send it out, I'm going to have to learn to trust it before anything. So
Yeah, you've got to understand how that GPS return to home works. You don't want to be testing it the first time you lose signal.
no.
Curry, what's your methodology for GPS testing? You seem to have a full-on scientific approach now.
Oh, go out and test it. Essentially, it's like you find a safe place. If you're in a big field, you need to understand what your minimum distance is, which is part of the setting. So you need to go beyond that and activate it on a switch and see if it behaves. And then you need to try it for real by like turning off your radio to see if it goes into the same failsafe, and make sure you can turn the radio on and bring it back again. Every time I'm going to go out far and I'm about to fly off, I will do a quick, let's put it into rescue mode just to make sure it turns around and comes back the right way before I fly again on every flight. Therefore, I know if it does go wrong, it's working. But I haven't ever had to use rescue mode in anger yet.
That's good.
I'm yet to try rescue mode. I've never tried it, but I've seen it in action, and the latest update as well, where it lands as well. That is so cool. I've seen a
Michael
TikTok
doesn't
the other
do
day.
that. He likes to disarm for about 12 feet and try and hit me.
It tries to guess when you're near the deck based on like when it thinks you bumped something. But if your quad's a bit wobbly to start with, it thinks it's bumped something just coming down through its prop wash, and it's not
like, that sounds like a landing.
It's like, am I less than X meters away from the height where I took off, and have I registered something that feels like a bump? Well, let's disarm.
The thing is, unless someone's taken your radio and smashed it onto the ground, you'll never need that bit.
No.
Because if you've lost video signal or radio signal, as it's returning, that will come back, and then you can take control again and come back and land it. So unless something's gone really badly wrong with your radio, you don't have to think about it landing or just falling. I mean, I prefer it to fall close by, near my feet, than out in the distance. That's something. Who's this geezer?
Just showing a quick clip of the rescue mode working.
That's Alpha Charlie, is it not?
Is this
That
fitting
is. Here you go. You can see it landing here. See, hit the button. You can see it landing.
And it's about the point where it's going to disarm and dive onto concrete.
That's not a
Oh no! What do
magic.
we see? It works.
That's it, literally
Nice.
disarming there. That's all. He's not done
Wow.
anything, and it's hit the ground and it's disarmed. That's
Cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty epic.
Yeah, I've talked to Chris Thompson a whole bunch about the work he's done on this, and yeah, he's like tuned it so it uses 10 hertz GPS now, and got like you can actually do a PID tune for the return to home and set the maximum angle, everything. So if you want and you're really confident in your quad, you can like make it a total rocket ship and have it fly back to you at very high throttle if you want to impress your friends and terrify people.
It feels like we need some balance to this coming back perfectly. So here's my rescue mode on.
Wasn't this the one where bits were falling off your quad?
No. This is a well-behaved quad. There it is. It's coming down. It's like, yeah, this is looking good. At that point, it seems to turn like it wants to hurt me and starts circling me like a hawk, which was a bit weird. And then it gets here and it's like, that'll do.
Oh,
that's good enough.
That's close enough.
Good enough, mate. That looked like it was only about 2 foot off the floor when it disarmed then.
It's
not
a
too
weird
bad.
case of
Like,
2 foot.
that's not too bad. You don't want it like land, going too close. I guess. Well,
like I said, it's.
But you don't want it not disarming and burning a motor. That's the trouble.
That was the weird thing. It's like
toilet bowling.
I mean, does that GPS have a compass on it? Because then that might explain why it's circling around. Because that won't a compass correct for
does
that?
not have a compass.
Doesn't. Because I don't know if GPS Rescue actually uses that in beta flight. Is it reliant on the compass or is it not? I don't know.
No, it doesn't use compass.
No,
in fact,
we were having a debate about this.
A lot of calibration.
With Caroline, who's in the chat, who was trying GPS rescue mode and has a compass in her one, and she said there was this option in it where it says use magnetometer.
There is.
So she assumed it would use it, and I was like, I don't know if it does.
I don't know what that even is for. Is that it might be just for RSD, potentially.
Show you why you don't want to use the magnetometer in beta flight. Because in iFlight you have to kind of spin around and do all these kind of weird flips and things with a quad, right? You have to turn it on one side and then spin it around each axis.
Yeah. To do the calibration.
Right. So the reason you have to do that is to calibrate the mag, so the mag knows like where the strongest signal is in each axis. You don't do that in beta flight because people just didn't bother to do the calibration code for it. If you want to calibrate it, the recommendation is to read this page, all of it, twice, and understand how to calibrate, and then do a bunch of maths on the back of an envelope and figure it out.
No.
How many people do you think read this page before using the magnetometer?
Every single one.
None. Or they start reading it and then say, "Oh, this hasn't been updated in 4 years."
Calibration values are saved in the mag calibration parameter, which you can input manually. Blah blah blah. Yeah, really. When was the last time anyone typed anything into the mag calibration parameter?
This sounds like documentation to me.
I don't believe. Well, yeah. I mean, that's written by a developer. Yeah. That's why we advise people don't enable the mag unless you really know you need it, because unless you've calibrated it, it'll like totally misinform the rest of the rescue procedure and just be like, go that way. It's like having a drunk in the back of the car shouting, go that way, while you're trying to drive somewhere. Not helpful.
Nice.
I mean, sort of places like bandos and things like that, you wouldn't really want GPS rescue on. So that's probably why I've never tried it. But
yeah,
might help on your cliff dive though.
Oh, it would have. Yeah. Oh, would it have gone up?
Yeah, because it goes 20 meters higher than its highest point. So at your point, you were like minus 100 meters. It would have gone up to plus 20 meters or whatever.
But if the motor's disarmed,
whether it might have hit the cliff on the way, of course.
I'm just thinking if the motors would have, because I think the motor's desynced. So would it have rearmed the motors? Maybe.
If it was really highly tuned, yeah, you might have just had a bit of a freak out, I guess.
If it probably desynced, they just. I've only ever seen desync flying along and just go mental and hit the floor, and that was it.
And it was weird because it was like kind of like this. It was like facing upward, but it was kind of like a bit wobbly as it went, and it just kept going down. It's So I'm not too sure if that was a desync. I mean, or not. But
is this one of those
really
batteries you've flown down to like 9 volts on a 6S and
maybe
it just
maybe that.
gave up and expired on you?
Or is this going to be like Jack when he claimed he had a failsafe but just flew backwards into a hill?
Did you fly backwards into the White Cliffs of Dover, failsafe? Is what we're asking you.
No, I didn't. No.
That's what they all say.
It's funny because every single set of new goggles, like I tested the V1 Walksnail goggles, and within a couple of weeks, lost that in the farmer's field. Pretty much the same thing, really. Just dropped down, and didn't find it over then. And then this one, a couple of weeks, and lost another quad. So this is a running theme, I think.
But
For
it's just
Walksnail
losing
goggles. Maybe
power
if I
and
try
going down.
See if I can lose one with 03. Yeah.
What's your verdict on 03, by the way? Because I've got it myself now, and as much as I love the footage, it feels a bit odd flying them. It doesn't feel quite right flying them.
Weird, yeah. It's the field of view is massive on it. I know we tried in that meetup actually where we were doing the fireworks. We tried Archie. He has one of my friends, Archie. He has 03, and he was literally said it was impossible to fly. And I wish I would have had my drone then because that Starlight camera would have been perfect for it. In terms of low light, that's definitely a weakness of it. But
there's no low light visibility at all. It's awful in low light.
it's really good. The penetration and everything is.
Oh yeah.
I was flying it. I think I was flying in the goggles 2. No, DJI goggles V2. How was it? But yeah, it was really nice. It's a bit. I think it would take some time for me to get used to it. But yeah,
the range is fantastic. You keep the signal for like full kind of. Maybe 80% further than the old Vistas used to do. And it looks great so long as the light's good. But
yeah,
then
I mean,
sometimes when you're doing like your spins, it'll just be like smooth and then chop, 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 like it's dropped a bunch of frames. And I always wonder, like, am I about to lose signal? And then it'd be fine. Just every now and then it drops frames and or it has jitter and it just feels very.
I've not had much experience with it to sort of know that, but I know I did fly it. We did a back-to-back sort of comparison with in Croatia when we were there. We flew behind the entire house where the swimming pool was, and 03 was pretty much flawless. I mean, you did notice the latency, increased a little bit, but it's pretty much flawless. There's no real stuttering. It still looked really good. Whereas Avatar, you flew around that, and it definitely wasn't as good. To lie, but I'm not too sure if that was my VTX because it could just be a simple case of my antenna's broken, knowing how much we bashed the quads out in Croatia. So it could just be something similar as that, but definitely is impressive for sure. Yeah. I've sold my V2 goggles now, so I've not really got a chance to try the system, but I do love the form factor of these goggles and sort of the other Walksnail goggles. They're just a lot more compact than the DJI V2s, which I really
They're
like.
box goggles, basically, aren't they? The V2s.
Yeah.
And then you've got you've got a choice of either box goggles or goggles where you can't use your own battery.
Yeah, and Integras. Yeah, I'm not too sure if I can get used to that. It's just not really They're not really comfortable. I may probably get something to fix it. Some sort of foam or something. That's not something I've experimented with. The field of view is massive though, but I think you can reduce that with cropping and stuff. But yeah, it's not really something I've looked into much.
Okay, I think we're rolling the credits now, so we should probably call it, guys. Thank you very much to our wonderful Patreons who are scrolling at the bottom of the screen. You keep this show going. We really, really appreciate you. We've actually got some interesting developments we're working on, so maybe next year we'll be announcing some more bits and pieces for Patreons. We'll keep you posted. But this evening, you have been joined by everyone's favourite, Curry Kitten.
Goodbye.
I have to say everyone's favourite.
It's contract.
Yeah, can't be a breach of contract. The lawyers will be after me. Our man who's actually been out flying, Cole.
See ya.
Bright until I fly.
Thank you. I'm also on the Thursday night show. I'm doing my last set there. It's been 10 years since yesterday of the LAC. So if you guys can stay and tune in there, it's on ThursdayNightShow.com. I'm on at 12 till 2 a.m. So it's 2-hour special, and then that's it. No more.
Oh, wow.
But
The end of
thank
Lonely
you.
Artist Cast. No way.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. Thanks.
Yeah.
And of course, our special guest with all the knowledge about Walksnail and an excellent pilot with many tales to tell, Failsafe. Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.
And the man with the mustache.
Oh,
Oh
and
yeah,
myself,
Steven.
All right.
Stephen,
Yeah.
who has been
It's
fine
hard
today
to
and is
remember.
therefore a failure.
All
All right.
Thank you guys.
right.
Good night.
Have a good night,
Cheers.
y'all. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.